Okay, so this is the tutorial video for the Chapter 7 exercise, but let's just first summarize the classification method, like what is this classification method is about, right? Basically, predicting the categories, right? The classifications. So the classification is a one of the supervised learning. So the supervised learning with the labeled data is a machine learning approach, right, where the algorithm is trained on a data set that include both input variables, the features, and the output variable is called labels or the targets. This feature sometimes, there's many different the terms, so the features, or sometimes this is um, it's called independent variables. Okay, independent variables. And then output variables is called labels or the targets, right? The labels or targets, or this is sometimes called dependent variables. Okay, so there's a lot of names, dependent variables. Okay, so there's a lot of different names. Okay, so so the input variables, basically the features, or sometimes known as what? Independent variables. The output variables, there's many different terms. Labels, targets, or the dependent variables, right? Okay, and the dependent variables, right? Okay. And the goal of the supervised learning is to learn a model that can make predictions about output variables for the new unseen data based on the input variables, the features, right? This type of learning is called supervised because the process of algorithm learning from the training data set can be thought as a teacher supervising the learning process. Okay, so now the first step is what? Always what? Um, mount your Google Drive, right? So you mount your Google Drive and import this, PD and NP, the pandas and NumPy, and then you are supposed to read the data set. The first data set is for the training, right? So there's a farm history.csv files, right? That's for the training. So now let's take a look at this, a few lines of this farm history data set. Right? So it has, this is the index, and then previous drought, zero, soil moisture, groundwater, and etc. And then the crop damage. So basically, um, yes. So this is a data frame for the training, right? And then for the scoring, you are supposed to read a file called farm drought risk CSV file. So, so difference between these two data frames, as you can see, the first one, it has the crop damage, and the second one does not have a this variable with this feature. Right? I mean, this target variable, the crop damage, right? Okay. And so this is for the scoring. Okay? This is for the scoring. And then this moderate, mild, this crop damage, right? The string has to be changed to a this number, right? It has to be coded. Otherwise, right? So, I mean, for the machine learning algorithms, right? This has to be converted into, let's say, or decoded into some value, initial value, right? Okay, so next code is basically using MP-where functions, right? You know what this MP-where function is kind of recursive. But anyway, no damage, right? It will be converted into one. It's coded as one. And then mild is going to be what? Coded as two, and etc. Yeah, you know that this is NP-where is applied like recursively. Okay, so and the mother will be coded three, and then the remaining is four. Basically, the severe will be coded, as four, right? And then this will be changed to, so this is now the 1, 2, and 3, that those are like those in string. And then you need to change those, convert those string values to a numeric value. That's why you apply to numeric and to crop damage column, right? So now after that, you see that, okay, so this is the, that's the, I just print the, crop damage, right? And then at the end, you see the crop damage now, after you're converting, right? Your crop damage now is integer value, right? Because of the last column, the crop damage, the data type is integer. Why? Because thanks to what? Thanks to this method to numeric. Okay, so now the crop damage now becomes the type of the crop damage, right? The value, type of the values in this crop damage column is now the integer. Okay, so then the next step is we need to have basically among all these columns, right? This previous year drought, soil moisture, groundwater, and then plantings, and the wind days. Those are what is independent variables, right? And then last column, the crop damage is going to be dependent variable. So this all these columns, right? These attributes, previous year drought, and these attributes, right? Basically, they are what? Independent variables. So, or they are called features, or they are called input variables. Okay? And now this crop damage, right? That's what? That's the output variable or labels or the targets or the dependent variable. There are many different names, okay? But in this implementations, we'll just call it these features, right? Will be um, independent variables, and the crop damage, right? We're going to call it dependent variables. Usually it's called it targets, okay? But anyway, in this implementation, I'm going to follow the textbooks, you know, the terms that used by textbooks. So the crop damage, in this case, I'll call it dependent variables. Okay. So yeah, and then another thing is, farm history, right? And then farm drought risk. The farm history, this will be used for the training, right? For the training your model, right? Because this input will be given. And then this is the target. Both variables are required to train a model, right? And then if you look at the farm drought risk, you know that there's what? There is no target value. There's no dependent variables, right? Because this, right? Basically, this will be fed into your model, and then your model will predict the crop damage, right? So basically, the idea is what? The idea is, here's your model, right? And you train your model using this data set, right? Including the target, right? So basically, this is your answer. Target is going to be your answer, right? Example, if this is the conditions, if this is your input, and this is your output, right? This is your answer. So this data set will be used for training this model. Once you build a model, right? Once you build a model, once you're done with training your model, this scoring data set will be fed into this model, and your model is going to predict. Yeah, your model is going to predict, right? Whether your crop, status crop damage is what is moderate, mild, and no damage, and etc. Right? So we're going to predict the target value or the dependent variable. Right? So in our case is what? Crop damage. Okay, so that's why this is empty, right? So because this will be strictly used, this data frame, right, will be strictly used for scoring. Okay, so pretty much we're done with setting up, right? Before we move to a next, before we move to LDA, right? LDA model, right? So in my next lecture, I'm going to talk about LDA classification method. Okay, so thank you.